Good morning, everyone. This is Vinod from Power BI Snippet. This is our fourth video on our video series, No More in Power BI. And today we are about to see how to work with the topic, and we're going to learn how to create a fact table and a dimension table. This is a very general topic. I'm going to take up a data and show you how I'm going to work on this part. Let's see the difference between the two. When I go to the logic called star schema, in the star schema, I have two varieties of table. The first table is called as fact table. The second one is called dim table. So those who are already known about, those who are already have a good idea about Access database, so it's easy for them to understand this. If you are new to the database structures completely, you don't have to worry about it, but still you can learn. So when I say a dimension table, it is a unique field consists of a table which has a unique field alone, a unique table rather. And in a fact table, we have a lot of duplicates coming up. For example, when I go down to the logic of this, so this is how a fact table and a dim table will look like. In a dim table, you can see that you have a master data. So the master data may not have more than once. We'll have the master data only once in all the dim table shown on our surroundings, which is blue in color. When you come to the fact table is going to use the dim table features or dim table fields, and then it may be reproducing the same ID number multiple times. If it is a transactional table, then I'll term that as a fact table. So how do I convert a fact table into a dim table, or how do I build a dim table based on the fact table? So in our previous video, we saw how to work with a normal table where we started with a data correction. From the data correction, and we have gone until the last logic of a data correction where we created a visualization. I call it as data preparation to data viz. Today, what we are about to do is we are going to build a table, and we are going to only play around with Power Query Editor today. So I'm going to use the Power Query Editor to the max possible. So let's see how to do that. So I'm going to build certain tables like this. So I have a table already, which I've built in the previous video. I'm going to take the table and build the table on the right and table on the left. For the table on the left, I may need one more new file to be added, and on the table on the right, we don't need any other file. Just we're going to create multiple columns. So we're going to create a list of columns which we are about to deal with. So let me just open our Power BI and we'll go to our previous logics of Power BI. So when I gone to the Power BI in the previous video, just I pick up the logic called a population table. So I just picked up a population table and I picked only one file out of it. I'm going to just bring this file back again to the normality, and I'm going to just create them from the scratch so that you will understand how this data is going to work for us one more time. So when I build the singular table, I'm going to build a dim table based on that fact table and a dim table based on the country table. So when I deal with that in a country table, I need one more data to work around, and that's what the data is this. So let me take the files which is going to be used for our current video and put them in a brand new folder in my desktop. So that's easy to access to me. Data for my current point. So I'm going to pull this data inside, and then I'm going to just later on when I build the third table, I'm about to do it. So the table that we already saw this once. So I'm just showing you once again how the data is going to look like. In this data, I have a small bug in it. So I'm going to clear those small bugs, and I'm going to retain few columns. I'm going to clear a few columns and so on. That allows us to make our work even more easier and even more effective. So I'm just coming back to our Power BI screen, and I'm going to add this. I think that we have a new updates available, and it's asking me to sign in. So I'm not going to sign in here. So I'm going to just close this window and I'm going to just start adding our data one by one to it. So it is a data where we have a glitch in it. So I'm going to just bring in the data via a transform tab, and I'm going to change the data in the list. So as I've added the data to our desktop, so I'm going to just call that particular folder, take the data inside, and then I'm going to do the corrections. So I'm not going to take us too much of time to do this because we already did this one. If you want to know more about it, you can just jump back to the third video of our Power BI series. You will understand how fast it is done. So in this particular video, I'm going to do it a little faster. I'm not going to just make it, I'm not going to explain everything that I did in my previous video. So I'm going to just save a little more time. So I'm going to just do the process that is required here. So now I'm going to just do whatever it's required to clean up this data. So data preparation is done one more time. You can see a fast forwarded data logics that you can see here. I'm going to just not explaining anything in here because as if you want to know more about it, just jump to the previous video so you get an idea how I'm doing this and why I'm doing this. You get all the explanation in that video for us. So I'm just taking out and renaming the column that is required here, and I'm adding the columns and switching the columns. I'm not telling you what I'm doing, what is the process of it, nothing. I'm just preparing my data for my next logic. So if you really want to know, and if you don't know what I'm doing in here, please go back to my video number 3 and learn it, how it's going to work for me. And once you understand that, then it makes my job and as well as your job easier. So hope my data are ready. I'm just checking few of the columns, which is easier to check. So I'm checking that. Probably this is detailed explained to you in our previous video. Yes, then I'm going to just load this data to my Power BI desktop. If there is an error in it, then it's going to shout at me saying that I have an error here. So now I just created the data model for us and the data preparation component is ready. Now I'm loading the data to the data model to create a visualization. But I'm not going to create a visualization immediately right now. So I'm going to make these table. Once the table is ready, then I'll jump back to the transform tab and I'll show you what I'm going to do with other data. So how I'm going to use the Power Query editors, other columns like add columns. How do I use the add columns feature better in this video? This will be a very useful tool for you to data preparation point, and that saves you a lot of time. When you want to visualize the data, you can visualize the data really very beautifully. So I don't think I have an issue in here, so I'm happy about it. So perfectly, let's jump back to our star schema again. Now I'm going to create. So now I have this data again. I have more here. I have a country ID, country, age group, year, gender, and population. That's what there in my fields here. You can see that. You see age group, country, country ID, gender, population, and year. Now I'm going to just transform this data and I'm going to create the next data that is called a dim table here. So how do I create a dim table here? We're going to see that. So to create a dim table, we need to either duplicate the available table here, or you can create a replica of it or a referential table here. So let me show you and let me tell you the difference between these two. So I'm going to create the referential table here. I'm going to give a right click here and you can see that I have a duplicate option available. I have a referential option available. If you're going to build a data on all these 3 files, I'm going to create a visualization based on this and a combination of these 2 tables and a combination of these 2 tables, the dim table of region and fact table of region, fact table of population and age, and I want to create a population visualization separately. Then I need a connection between these two to work on these logics, I'm creating our list. So first thing, I'm going to create a referential table. The advantage of creating a referential table is the number one is it allows me to work with the data better because the relationship between these two tables will be created automatically. So now I've just duplicated the population table and I've renamed it as dim table. To rename it, on the right hand side, the name of the proper property in the property window, you can just rename it. And according to my star schema or my PDF that I have here, I'm going to have only three fields here: age group ID, age group, and category. But I have a lot of field here. So I'm going to retain the age group. I'm going to delete all of them. To do that, I'm going to choose the option. The choose option allows you to keep what you want and uncheck what you don't want. So I'm going to keep only the age group here. The rest I'm going to remove it. I'm going to give an OK. That keeps the age group. As I told you earlier, this is going to be a dim table. That means I cannot have duplicates like this. So you can see every age group has two fields here. So I don't want them. So I'm going to use the remove duplicate option to remove all the duplicates from my age group. That allows me to create a unique field here, and that is the best way to remove my duplicates. So let's see how to do that. So now I don't have a duplicate in here. Then we'll see how to do that. So let's see how to work on this. So now I'm going to add one more column here, and that column is going to be my age group ID. So how do I create that? To create that, I'm going to go to the add column and I'm going to create a logic called index column. When I go to the index column, you can see three options are available. I can start an index from 0 or start an index number 1, or you can customize a number that you wanted to. I'm going to use the normal part like start the index number from 1. So I'm going to just say from 1. Then it automatically adds a new column for us and call it as index, and it's going to give you 1, 2, the number of line items. So in my list here, I have 21 line items. So it's going to give you 21. Now I want to rename it. So I'm going to just come here and then I'm going to call this as age group ID. And I don't want them on the right. So I want them on the left. So I'm going to drag it to the left. So now I'm going to add a conditional column here so that I can create the third field here called category. So to create a cost category, the category part. So I'm going to add a new column, but I need to add a new column based on the highest value here because I have a discrete series here. So we can see that I have a starting point, lower bound, and upper bound, and so on. I want the upper bound alone. To do that, I'm going to just duplicate this column and extract them with the highest number in it. To do that, I'm going to come back to the add column and click the duplicate column. You can see the duplicate column is created. Now it's going to be an age group 1 column will be added onto the right of my data. So now I got this list. Now I'm going to split this into two based on the delimiter here. To do that, I can come back to my home tab and I can say split column by delimiter. You can have a lot of things here, but I have a delimiter in every line item. That's what I've created in this age group list. So I'm going to create that by this way, and I'm going to go for the leftmost delimiter and give an OK. So then this breaks the lower limit and upper limit into two different columns. That allows you to get the upper limit alone. The lower limit part is not what we have in this list. So now I don't need the lower limit anymore. So because I'm going to create a condition based on my upper limit. So I'm going to give a right click here and then I can delete the age group copy one. So right click and remove this column. So I want only this column. So now I'm going to create a condition here. So I go to the conditional column here and you can see the if conditions are popping up for us. So I'm going to name the column here called category. And when I come down here, I'm going to pick up the next part. And if this valuation is less than or equal to 5, then I'll call this name or this column as or this row as infant. And the next logic going to come into play if this is value is less than 12, from 5. Then I'm going to call this as a child. Then if this is going to be a number between 12 to 19, then I'm going to call this as teenager. If he's the other way around, where I'm going to call, if he's between 19 to 40, I'm going to call him as young adult. And if he's 40 to 60, I'll call it as adult. And if he's below 80 and above 60, then I'm going to call him as senior. And if he's above 80, then I'm going to call it as super senior. So this is the column that I need in my list. So I'm going to just say okay. So now you can see you can add, or you get a new column called category, and that column is added to our list. Once I've added that category column, I don't really need the age group copy column again. So I can just remove this. So now I have age group ID, age group and category. This is what I want in my dim table on the age. I got them here. Then I can just tell the system that close and apply. This is going to add the next table for me called dim age group, so that I can create 2 visualization right now. But before I create a visualization in here, I'm about to create one more table. So that's how this is going to make my life even more better. Let's see how to do that in the subsequent video. This video will be a little bigger to see it. So, but again, I'm going to just use all these data as again to build a list here. Hope you've learned how to create a dim table based on the available table called fact table. And this is Vinod signing out from the Power BI snippet video number 4. And we are going to have 2 more videos on video number 4A and 4B for our subsequent logic. So we'll be adding 3 videos to complete this video's component of star schema, and how I'm going to build the star schema later on, how I'm going to do the data prep, and I'm going to bring it until data viz. Hope you enjoy my video, learn something new, stay updated, stay safe. See you then. This is Vinod signing out from Power BI snippet, your YouTube videos on no more in Power BI. Thank you so much.